Hey guys, it's Mish, and for today's video I'll be sharing a study, or multiple studies actually, that look at whether running slash walking or biking is better for burning fat. So I'm mostly focusing on two studies today, but there have been quite a few done on this since the first one came out. So these studies were trying to determine whether there was a difference in fat burning between biking and running or walking on a treadmill at the same exercise intensity. And so in order to match exercise intensity, these researchers used VO2 max, which is a measure of the maximum oxygen that an athlete can take up. And this is sort of the gold standard for determining exercise intensity because how much oxygen you're using is really a function of how much energy you're putting out and how much effort you're putting in and how intense the exercise is. And first, a little background. When you exercise, your body uses a combination of fat and carbs to fuel that exercise. And there's something called the crossover point, which I talked about in a past video, but I'll just sort of summarize it really quick. And that's the point at which your carbohydrate oxidation exceeds your fat oxidation. So that's the intensity of exercise at which you start burning more carbs than fat. And so generally when people exercise, unless they're trying to train at a super intense level to improve their performance, which I mean a lot of people do, but when it comes to weight loss, most people are exercising to try to burn fat. The best way to burn fat when exercising is to do it at the point at which you are oxidizing the most fat. So in general, that's about 60% of your maximum heart rate. And so that's the point at which you're burning the highest proportion of fat compared to carbs. And so these studies were looking at the differences in these maximum fat oxidation rates between biking and walking or running. Because then presumably, if you choose the exercise that has the highest fat oxidation rate, you'll be able to burn more fat doing that exercise at the same intensity than the other exercise. And that is what these researchers found. And so they had subjects come in, and each of them did a biking test one day, and then they came back a week later and did a running and walking treadmill test. And these were counterbalanced, so some people had the walking and running first, so it was all good experimental design that way. And they measured their VO2 max and their heart rates and the rate at which they burned fat. And the results are pretty strong in showing that for the same VO2 max, so the same intensity and about the same heart rates, walking and running burn more fat than biking. And as for the actual numbers, across the range of 30% to 90% VO2 max, which is going to be pretty much the entire range of exercise you're concerned with, unless you're exercising at really low or really high intensities, it was shown that the treadmill test, which was walking and running at various paces over 30 minutes, burned about 50% more fat than cycling at those same intensities. So that's kind of crazy, actually. It's a very big effect size, a big difference between them, which I personally would not have expected. And there's a couple theories as to why this could be. So some think it's because biking recruits less muscles, like you're using more just your quads and glutes and hamstrings and all that, whereas with running and walking, it's sort of more of a full body exercise with your core and all that. And so some researchers think that this causes you to burn more fat because you're releasing more catecholamines, which aids in lipolysis, which is the burning of fat, and all these complicated terms. But that's one possibility, although some research kind of refutes it. And another possibility is that biking might be more intense on the muscles that are used, and so they're burning more carbs because it's sort of like you're squeezing all of that intensity into a smaller area like of your body muscle-wise, and so you need carbs to fuel that because fat oxidation is kind of a slow process. So when you're exercising really intensely, you use more carbs because you can burn them up way faster and then get the energy you need. So if you also prefer running and walking to biking like I do, then here is some validation for your feelings. And if your goal is to burn fat and you can't decide between the two exercises, then I would recommend, based on this body of research, that you try running and walking instead of biking. Thanks so much for watching, and please share and subscribe to see more videos.